genre.
Welcome back to The Doctor's Companion. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cass Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
And today on the show, we're going to be talking about the 2023 Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road. The first official, like the official start of the RTD2 era, kind of, right? Because this is no longer a 60th anniversary thing. This is like new companion, new doctor, and go. So, yeah.
Yeah, Disney Plus is referring to this as Special 4.
Mm-hmm. I saw that. Yeah.
I kind of understand because I guess it's like building off the momentum of the 3 specials.
Right.
But more than, probably since Rose, maybe the 11th hour. This really does feel like the perfect jumping off point.
Yeah.
For new fans of the show.
Yeah.
If they wanted to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unless you really like teeth. Then I've got another one that you could start.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of similarities between this and Rose. A lot, which I'm excited to really dig into. There's a lot to dig into in this. But let's get overall thoughts. Cass, let's start with you. You just watched it, right?
Yeah.
So what'd you think?
I had a lot of fun with this one. It was it was delightful. I don't know. I can't think of another word that describes it for me. Other than delightful, I'm sure we'll talk about it. The song was something. I really like 15's energy. I like Ruby. I like their chemistry. I like it felt like this is super cheesy, but it felt like I was coming home or whatever, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Coming home feels apt, even before getting into the episode, just the preamble, the experience. I don't think I ever realized this, but I had kind of accepted that this wasn't going to happen again. A Christmas special of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And so, when the family had all gone to bed and I was alone for the first time all day and I could just turn off the lights and make a cup of tea and then, turn on an episode of Doctor Who on Christmas night. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like it's been a decade since I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the episode itself, yeah, it was just really, really fun. And a lot to get into, like a delicious baby. Just a lot to chew on.
Lots of little bits to chew on.
Yes, little bits to chew on. It's so crazy because I'm home for the holidays and they were showing one of the Hobbit movie on TV one day and I just turned it on randomly and I got to get to their Goblin King and so this just felt like a soup of just a bunch of different things fun things. And this is a star-making performance by Shudigatwa. And the fandom is going nuts for this guy, and rightly so. And yeah, it was just a really, really fun, light, frivolous episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a confection, this one.
Mm-hmm.
The one very dramatic moment of like the It's a Wonderful Life, the little like 5-minute It's a Wonderful Life section in this aside. The rest of this is like just a total confection, right? And I think it's a lot of fun. I think that it had you know, I didn't fall head over heels for this. I think that it had there was like some pacing stuff that I wasn't crazy about. There's a lot of things I have questions about in terms of like, what was the point of that? Why did we do this? What was this about? And not even in like a mysterious way, like the Mrs. Flood thing, in more of like what was that? Like kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For both of you.
Yeah.
Did you have issues with the way this was directed, like specifically?
Well, you know, funny you should say that.
Okay.
The director is Mark Tondere. Mark Tondere. He previously directed the episodes The Ghost Monument and Rosa. So he is from the Chibnall era, and he's specifically from the part of the Chibnall era before they corrected the way that they, you know, the visual style of the Chibnall era, when everything had like weird, awkward close-ups and all of that stuff. Shallow depth of field. So yeah, there was like some weird directing choices in this, I would say. Definitely. Yeah. Can you think of anything specifically that stuck out to you, Nick?
I guess just like kind of like weird little like geography, I guess, like in the goblin ship, which is great. And just like, yeah, kind of like the back and forth of like, wait, where are we in the house? Or just like little stuff like that. I don't think I noticed any like weird close-ups specifically, but now that you say like Rosa and Ghost Monument, I'm like, oh, I guess I kind of can see like those similarities.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely remember Ghost Monument, but
I
I'll
don't
never
even
forget
know
Rosa.
what Ghost Monument is.
That's the one where she finds the TARDIS, because she
It's
doesn't
the
have it
TARDIS.
in the first one.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's her second episode where she finds the TARDIS.
That's
yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
They're in a quarry for like 90%.
Right. Yeah. Does that help narrow it down? It was
Good old Doctor Who.
No, the one they're in a quarry.
Yeah. So, but overall, you know, exceptionally solid. And we talked about this on the Discord, but, you know, I am interested in learning more about Ruby Sunday and how she will work as a companion. But I do really like their chemistry. They have really great chemistry. They remind me of like two teenagers who are like bad influences on each other, but are like best of friends. So I really like that energy that they're bringing to it. But I'm waiting for, you know, the first episode of the new season, or, you know, a couple episodes in to like really hook into her as a companion. And like what she's going to bring to the show overall, other than a mystery box. Which I don't think this is going to be like a Clara situation where we have to wait a whole season to get out of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's kind of, I thought, I was thinking this throughout the episode. She's sort of like an amalgamation of your classic Moffat companion and your RTD companion, because you get the mystery box, you know, she's the special person kind of angle that Moffat was so fixated on, but then also she's so domestic and grounded, like your Donna or your Rose or your Martha. Like we get to meet basically her whole family in this episode. And
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
They're kind of the heart of the story, arguably.
Totally. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about those mystery box elements later. Because I have thoughts, and they're probably not what you would expect them to be.
Nice.
Not like negative, like, you know, just thoughts. Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about this. So we meet Ruby, and she's being interviewed for a find your family kind of DNA. Find your family show, basically, where they're going to use her DNA to try and track down her parents, because she was left as a baby, as an infant, a newborn, at a church on Ruby Road, which is where she got her name.
At the stroke of midnight on Christmas Day.
Yes, on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought for a second, I thought that RTD was being really cute, because he said, because she said, like, they in the interview lady was like, you're 18, and she's like, almost 19. And then Christmas Day is her birthday. So then or Christmas Eve is her birthday, and it wasn't Christmas Eve yet, and she was almost going to be 19. I thought for a second that she had turned 18 in 2013, which means that she was born in 2005, which is when New Who was started.
That's fine.
But it was actually 2004. So she's been alive the whole time her Christmas special takes place the Christmas before New Who started. Which is kind of fun in its own way. But yeah, I almost thought Russell T Davies got real cute with the dates and everything. But yeah.
Um,
And the show is hosted by Davina McCall, who, show of hands, who thought that was a fictional person until they used Google?
Right now is when I learned that it wasn't a fictional person.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, she is a popular television presenter, host person over in the UK.
Oh.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, so the goblins attack the set, and it's interesting because, like, I've always associated gremlins with bad luck, not goblins. So this was all very new to me. And then the goblins themselves were like goblins, but also like kind of elfish, like Santa's elves. Kind of. So there was a lot of mixed stuff going on here, in terms of like mythology.
Does Warner Brothers like own the copyright on Gremlins as far as like screen stuff? Okay,
No, they don't own Twilight Zone, right?
that's true. That's a gremlin.
Yeah. No, gremlins were like a thing that was just like invented as like an urban legend in World War II. Because anytime something went wrong with your plane, they would say like, "Oh, gremlins! It was gremlins."
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything wrong with your plane. Must have been gremlins. That
Must
kind
have
of
been
thing.
a gremlin.
Yeah.
There's that crazy Chloe Grace Moretz movie where she fights a bunch of gremlins on a plane.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So goblins, they are instigators of bad luck, and they are like following her around for some reason that I think remain mysterious, right? To the end of the episode.
I'm wondering if the use of like goblins specifically, because it's like, I think it's tied to British Isles, like fairy lore. So, and because she's like a foundling, like they call her a foundling or whatever, like there are like legends of like, the fairies like stealing children and then replacing them with like another creature or whatever. So I'm wondering if like that is tied to this in any way, because they're specifically going after like babies that are left,
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what Labyrinth is about, right?
Right. Yeah. He steals the baby. So
Right.
And then later the Doctor sort of describes, as he's learning about the concept of luck and coincidence, which I thought was really cool, and we'll get into it more, that he kind of describes it as like the more coincidences and bad luck that occur, the more sort of sewn into the timeline she becomes.
Right.
And maybe that's like kind of locking her into their grasp, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like there's going to be more to it down the line as we learn more about her, about the mystery box stuff. But I feel like we don't have the whole story with that yet. But but I did like all of that, like, the bad luck and the coincidence, and it just keeps doubling down and getting like more juicy and condensed, and they get more and more into it. I thought that was pretty cool.
I had the thought on Christmas Day, like the morning, but while I was like eating breakfast or something, of like, oh, the church on Ruby Road. And like, how fun would it be if the church is the name of the club where they meet at?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, so even before that, we find out that she's a musician. She plays the keyboards in a band. And the Doctor's watching her, and he's wearing an outfit that we was like the outfit that he wore in the announcement of like, this is what my doctor wears. But he never wears that again the rest of this episode. So this is definitely like a Time of Angels, Heart and Stone situation, right? Where like this is the doctor from the far future coming back to that moment for some reason, right? Has to be.
That's cool. I like that.
Because otherwise, like, that scene makes no sense whatsoever. Like, why is he there? How does he know who she is? Why is he watching her? You know?
Is that the outfit he's wearing when the snowman falls on him? Or has he changed since then? Okay.
No, he's wearing the I think he's wearing like
the tank top and the kilt.
Right, yeah. The tank top and the kilt thing. Yeah, with the leather jacket. Yeah, he's wearing his club outfit there. This was like the sweater with like the plaid suit. The one that they announced his look in.
With the cowboy hat.
Yeah. But so there's that, and then we go to the club, which we talked about this on the Discord. But it should worth noting now, I guess, for those of you who aren't on the Discord, there's this really incredible story, really heartwarming story about Russell T Davies, where, you know, when you're the showrunner of Doctor Who, you get asked, you know, kind of a lot of like questions that, you know, are like kind of basic questions or whatever. And one of those questions was, if you could travel anywhere in time, where would you go? And, at one point he never knew how to answer that, and he would answer, probably jokingly. But then this one time in this interview, I think it might have been with the Radio Times, he was like, no, I would go back to the day that I met my deceased husband, the night, and I would just watch us meet each other in this club at, 3 a.m, where I saw him dancing from across the room, and we instantly fell in love. And that's what this is. And I just think that that's so beautiful. It breaks my heart, but like in a good way. And I love this. I loved how they met.
It's so great because I was thinking about this after watching it, like the day after. Like, I can't think of many other times in fiction where you get to see platonic love at first sight. Like just that whole scene where she's just like so obviously like, oh my God, who is this guy? He's the most amazing, cool, like, and like he feels that way too. And they're just immediately just head over heels for each other, but like they're mates. And like normally in media, you meet people when they're already best friends or have been best friends.
Yeah.
And so to see like the birth of a best friendship like that was like really, really cool.
Yeah. It's romantic, but it's like capital R romantic. Yeah, it's just so big and important. It feels so big and important, that meeting. And it's beautiful. I love that.
I like
Cass, any thoughts on their first scene together?
It made it like, I think it made it hit harder that I knew the background of that. Like, I think like, cause they play it so charmingly, but like the emotional undercurrent of Russell T being like, no, this is like my real lived experience or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I was like tearing up during it. It was
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think of the copper?
Yeah. So that was the other scene that I was like, I mean, the whole thing. And then especially like them going to the TARDIS and the whole conversation about like proposing to his girlfriend and that she's going to say yes and all this. I was like, what is this? And not that I minded it. I mean, it's that great Russell T Davies like flair, which he just loves random characters. It's why we love Robert Holmes so much. Right. But, it was just, it felt very pointed. It didn't feel like something that was just like a quick moment and we're just like, don't worry about it. It felt pointed in a way of like, is this going to be important later? Like, is this like somehow her dad or something? Like, is he somehow setting up her conception or something? I don't know. Like, it just felt, it felt more important than, I don't know what it seems at first.
I think that it's more, it was more like to demonstrate like who this doctor is. Like that he even cares about this sort of thing or that he knows about this sort of thing. Cause we've had a lot of like very like like aromantic, like asexual takes on this character. So I think that he like that. I think it more serves that like he understands like kind of more about the nuance of this and like that he's kind. You know.
Yeah.
That's what I took out of that.
Right, compared to like 11 or 12 who sort of like would scoff at the idea of romance or like be perplexed by it or dismissive of it. 15 takes the time to be like, no, every little like love story is worth like tending like a gardener almost.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But it's interesting, Scott, because I remember when that was happening and he was like, goodbye, Mr. Copper, she's going to say yes. I was so sure that like, oh, he's coming back in Act 3.
Right.
And now that I'm like, oh, he didn't. That was like the last time we ever.
Right.
It's like, oh, that is interesting.
Because you see those kinds of things in Russell T Davies stuff all the time. It was just something about the way that scene was structured felt like we haven't seen the end of this guy, in some way. Yeah, I don't know. It was just strange. It was like when the Doctor was watching her at the club or at the bar when she was playing her music.
Yeah. Or like even her friends that they were getting into that huge ass cab.
Right.
That
had, like, I was like, is that how they roll in the UK?
Yeah, it's cool. You get to like look at each other. That's fun.
Yeah, but they were also like attractive and cool, and obviously like went through casting or act. And I was like, I'd be really surprised if we don't show any of these kids again.
I mean, look, if we know anything about Russell T Davies, it's that he likes a season structure, which means we're going to get our first 2 episodes next season are going to be set in the past and the future, and then the third one we're going to be back in modern day London. Yeah. So,
Ooh, wait, does that mean that the Abbey Road one might be next?
Is that? I know that it was recording block 4, so that tells me that it's like late in the game. Yeah, but
spoilers, by the way, listeners. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's in the
but anyway, she goes home. That's when we meet her family, and she gets the phone call about there's no sign whatsoever of anyone matching your DNA at all. This happens sometimes, etc. It was interesting because it was a. I feel like Russell T Davies like wrote that line where she says this happens sometimes as a way of like being like, it's just don't worry about it. But also it's like, this is Doctor Who. Everybody's going to take this as like a sign that she's something really, really important,
Well, and then she like points it out. She's like, no, my mother has never donated, like there isn't like a blood sample of her somewhere, so. Yeah.
They really put a fine point on it.
It's a step below like Moffat. There would have been like a nursery rhyme or a prophecy or something.
Right.
But it's definitely, they underscore it, but you're like, oh no, this is going to be something, I bet.
Yeah. Let's see, more goblin stuff. They're getting a baby for Christmas, a new foster baby, and then the goblins steal the baby. After the Doctor shows up, and it's like, wow, look at all these kids. There's this really interesting reading on the like on the Doctor's like timeless child.
Oh
stuff.
Yeah, I sent you this. Really cool Twitter,
tell people
Twitter.
about that. It was really cool.
So Cass, I sent this to Scott. I only sent it to Scott because I don't think you had seen the episode yet. But someone made a really heart tugging, super edit of. There's a scene later on in the episode. It's like going back to It's a Wonderful Life, where we get to see the mom, whose name I'm struggling to remember, but Ruby's mom, adoptive mother. If Ruby had never been devoured by goblins, and
Carla,
Carla, thank you. And the Doctor, looks at the wall, and the wall of all like the 30-something children are gone, and the Doctor's like very distressed by that and very like bothered by that and hurt, and Carla is like, yeah, whatever. I just took her for the money. You get like 800 pounds per kid that you adopt, and the person edited that with footage of the Doctor being experimented on by Tech Tagoon.
No.
And the user was like, that's why the Doctor felt such a tug of like the adopted children that are now wiped are like the incarnations of themselves that are lost to them and they have no memory of. Sorry.
That's rude.
Yeah.
And Tecteun being this supposed to be a mother, a maternal figure, but it was
Right.
just kind of using the Doctor for, to advance Time Lord regeneration and stuff.
Yeah.
Steel regenerations. That was the $800
Damn.
foster fee. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, I just love how now we're even out of the specials, and like RTD is like refusing to let you forget that the Chibnall era happened.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, they're good. They're good mates. Those two. Yeah. No, and I love that. I wouldn't want any era of Doctor Who wiped. I don't care how much I dislike it. I mean, look at the Sixth Doctor era, right? Like, it's important. It's part of the whole history and the tapestry of the show. Like, that's what makes the show so special. So yeah, I love that. I love that. That's what they're doing.
So Ruby sees she sees like the ladder or something, and she starts like chasing after the goblin ship and like jumps on the string ladder.
Right. Right.
And then the Doctor is in pursuit.
Right. Follows along. And then he has the gloves.
Mm-hmm.
The cool weightless gloves.
I love the gloves.
Yeah, that was a fun gadget.
It's
kind of classic Who because they just look like normal gloves you would find like at a thrift store.
Right.
Right. And then they have like little LEDs in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We get another Mavity reference.
Yes.
Right.
Committing to that bit.
Yeah, they're leaning pretty hard into that.
They're apprehended by the goblins.
Yeah, then we're on the goblin ship. Oh, and we get the great conversation about like, I'm trying to figure out what does he say? I'm trying to figure out the language of ropes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fun. We get a revelation. Speaking of 15 not being a asexual Doctor, he talks about like his hot summer nights with Harry Houdini.
Oh my god!
Which someone pointed out that 3 at some point referenced hanging out with Harry Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like some kind of like, I wonder what version of him,
Yeah. Yeah.
had long.
Hasn't Chudikawa mentioned 3 a lot in terms of like past Doctor inspirations?
I think so. They seem to be like, and even like fans on Twitter have just pointed out that they kind of seem to be like the cool ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And then the Doctor just being like excited by like he describes like learning a new language, like the language of like luck and coincidence, and how it's like a new skill set for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the goblins are going to eat the baby on a conveyor belt. Really, I don't really understand how any of this works because like the baby's so small, the Goblin King is so big. Why are the other goblins so excited that the Goblin King is the only one getting to eat the baby? Like what is the process here?
So I'm wondering if because he talked about how they're not like time travelers, but they're not like time scavengers either. Like, I'm wondering if it's similar to like the angels, where like all of the coincidence and the bad luck and whatever that they've been like setting up for this to abduct this child, is part of that. Like, it's not just the actual like the baby; it's just like the energy surrounding the baby.
Okay.
Like they live off of that energy of coincidence and misfortune.
That's interesting.
I had chose not to listen to the Goblin song.
Same.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, what a banger.
Yeah. I mean, it's straight out of Star Wars. Like it feels like a Cantina song out of Star Wars.
Yeah. But also like very Hobbit, very like like a goofy, silly song about eating a baby.
Yeah, it's somewhere between the Hobbit, like the dwarf songs and Unexpected Journey, and the what is that? It's not Jedi Rocks, or is it Jedi Rocks in Return of the Jedi with the lady with the lips on the
horrible
trunk?
Yeah,
yeah. It reminded me of like those two things kind of like merged together.
And then, I mean, like when the Doctor started singing,
I know. Oh my god,
my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. And then Ruby started singing too.
And I like that Ruby singing, like she was just doing her best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she was keeping up the tune, but like her lyrics like weren't as complex as the Doctor's were because her brain just doesn't, work that fast in improving. So it was really well done, I think.
And then just going back to like the chemistry of these two, like the way they just bounce off each other and seem to be much more, like two school friends that are like always getting in trouble together, as opposed to sometimes a sort of like Peabody, Mr. Sherman relationship that the Doctor and companion can have.
Yeah.
I think it's Mr. Peabody and Sherman. I think it's Mr. Sherman.
But yeah, they escape with the baby, but end up like splitting the universe, because the goblins go back in time and steal Ruby as a baby from the church, and the Doctor has to go back and save her. It all happens very quickly. This bit, he realizes everything, and then it's like, oh well, I'll solve this real quick. It's an interesting episode in terms of structure, because I do think it is oddly paced, because of you have like the introduction of everything, which is very slow paced, for the most part. And then you have the goblin pop in the middle, which is like this big adventure thing. And then you have tragedy. And then you have this timey-wimey, like go back in time thing with the baby. And that's all very dramatic and, and then I don't know, like it all feels, it's just very oddly structured episode overall, I think. It's not cool it's not as grandiose, I think, as like what I'm used to from the Russell T Davies era Christmas specials. This is like a much smaller story. I think. I don't know if you guys felt that.
I'm wondering if part of that is because he has to introduce, like he has to do all the heavy lifting of that. Like in all the other Christmas specials, even though he was introducing the 10th Doctor in that first one, we already had an emotional connection with like Rose and Mickey and
right.
Her mom, I'm forgetting her name.
Jackie,
thank you. But so we're like we're following them, kind of dealing with a new Doctor. But like this one, it did feel kind of like two episodes kind of smushed together a little bit, where it was just like, well, we're introducing our new companion, and also we have this thing, and also like it's Christmas, so we have to have fun with it,
Yeah. It just had a mildly Deus Ex Machina quality to the end of it, where it's like, we got to cause a problem and solve it so we can wrap this thing up, kind of thing. But certainly mild. But that's why I was getting much more like Rose vibes to this than I was any of the past Christmas specials. Because there's no invasion, there's not a big Titanic ship that's going to crash,
right?
Yeah.
It is kind of like It's a Wonderful Life, because like, but that movie, it feels like the most important story ever told, but it's really just like this one dude in this one random ass town.
Yeah.
And when you go back, after they rescue Lulu Bell, who everyone thinks is a horrible name, but the Doctor thinks is an amazing name, and is almost a little jealous. The episode, RTD goes out of his way to show how loved Ruby is, and like the grandmother, and like, when Carla like, embraces her and he goes, hey, you know what, like, forget about your mom. I'm glad you didn't meet her, because like you're mine, and blah 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 blah. And it was like so heartwarming. I mean, blah blah blah, the heartwarming thing. But like, and then I think you buy it, and like I was in love, like, oh my god, Ruby, oh my god, her family. So, and then to take that away, to show you like how gray and loveless this family would be without this like this child in their lives. It makes the stakes feel bigger. When like the Doctor's like, I have to save Ruby. Like this has to happen.
Right. Yeah. I almost wish we'd gotten a little bit more than a month with Ruby. Ruby's past, before meeting the Doctor. Like in that scenario of like, it's kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. I think that would be a really cool way to introduce a companion, of like showing everything kind of like a Cliff Notes version of their life up to the moment that they met the Doctor, and then like, what does that look like now?
With the Doctor kind of narrating the way he is at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. That would be. I don't know. I just there's something about that I think would be really cool, and a really cool use of a Christmas special. And I mean, yeah, we do kind of get that, but I also think, and I think he was guilty of this throughout his era, of just like sometimes Russell T, he's like, but I'm making Doctor Who, so there's got to be like a crazy alien or a little goblin or something, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe this didn't need the goblins. Maybe we could have saved the goblins for another episode and did something else. Or you could have had a big reveal that it was goblins, You're just following her along and you have no idea why she has all this bad luck. And then the Doctor shows up and he's like, it's goblins. We're going to wrap this up in 20 minutes. Let's go. Like that's kind of, I don't know. I kind of would have loved that kind of energy. But anyway.
So Cass brought up, I think, during Wild Blue Yonder, the reference of like the idea of myths crossing over into reality. And I thought about that with how the Doctor was sort of like excited by the presence of the goblins, and how this was kind of like a new thing for them to be trying to figure out and solve. So like, Cass, what did you think of that?
Well, I think that ties into his thing where he's learning the science of luck and coincidence, because like that is all like tied up in superstition, like luck, you can't quantify what luck is. So he's learning about it.
Right. Yeah. He made superstition real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And excited to see if that kind of carries over throughout the series. If that kind of becomes like maybe the equivalent of like the crack in the wall or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my feeling about her parents and her whole mystery box of it all. Everyone is, all the theorizing that I'm seeing about that, and about Mrs. Flood. Yeah, all of that is like everyone is pointing fingers at canon, and it's like, oh, Mrs. Flood is the Ronnie, or Mrs. Flood is this person, like for a
Amy
second,
Pond,
I
River
thought
Song.
maybe Mrs. Flood was a regenerated Susan,
oh, wow.
Yeah, something like that. And so, but like everyone is pointing fingers at that, and including like her mom and her dad, like who are they? Like, oh, is one of them the Ronnie? Is she really a time lady? Like, all of these things. And I don't know, I was thinking about it today, like rewatching it, and I was just like, maybe it's none of those things. Maybe it's not like big Doctor Who canon stuff, and maybe it just has to do with all of that superstition is now real stuff, that she's wrapped up into that. And maybe she's like, we're going to find out that she's the personification of some sort of legend or something, some sort of fairy tale. And that's why her parents don't exist, because they only existed to put her at the steps of that church because of like, I don't know, some fairy tale or something that was made real because superstition's real now.
It'd be really cool if it tied back into like what Cass said about like the folklore of the British Isles.
Right. Yeah.
Because Doctor Who has now been around for like half a century. So he, that they are kind of becoming myth and folklore that is very specific to Britain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cass, you had an epiphany moment.
Yes, I want to say this on mic, just in case it happens. Speaking of folklore of the British Isles, please make 15 Merlin. Please, please, for the love of God.
I mean, if any one of the doctors, like...
Yeah.
We've said that about every doctor. Every single one.
I initially felt
For sure.
I initially felt that way about Matt Smith because of just like the whimsy.
Yep.
And like he's he's the opposite of Merlin.
Yeah.
But like so is Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. I just, we've said that if anyone was going to be Merlin, we've said that about 11. We've said that
everyone.
about 12.
Yeah.
We've said that about 13.
Did we say that about 13?
Yeah. Because of the goggles and we just like dreamed up like the idea of like her being Merlin. Yeah.
Let me have hope.
Yeah. No, by all means. How long have I wanted the fucking Ronnie to show back up? Like,
yeah,
or
that
like,
too.
like Ruby, like could she, if she was like Excalibur, or something, or
Yeah.
like some kind of the personification of something.
Yeah, right.
Or I mean, like Abbey Road, like the Beatles, like that is also like a really intrinsic part of like UK like pop culture and history.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I am fully convinced that the woman dropping her off at the steps is not her mother, and that is in fact her. I think she's dropping herself as a baby off at the steps, but I don't think like she's her own mother. I think that it's just that I don't think the lady dropping her off is her mother. I think it's just her.
That's fair.
Like further down in the season, figuring out that like, oh, like I don't have a mother because I'm a fairy tale or a legend or some sort of superstition made into a baby.
Is Amelia Bedelia American?
Yeah, I don't know. What was Amelia Bedelia? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do think the arc of this season is going to be completely focused on superstition and legends and fairy tales are all real now.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely going to be what's going on.
She's American.
Oh.
She's one of ours.
Okay.
You can have Wally, UK, but you can't have Amelia Bedelia. I was really happy when the grandma got some tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's funny.
Yeah. She was good. I liked her. I liked how much chemistry she had with 15 too.
Yeah.
Just like
Russell T just loves older women hitting on the doctor.
Yeah. They're just like flirting with each other, in that like innocent way that like older people flirt with younger guys.
Cherry Sunday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was
what
fun.
a name.
And even so Mrs. Flood, she was like, so she was, there's like a runner throughout the episode that the TARDIS is planted in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And there's another neighbor that's like, what the hell is that? And Mrs. Flood is like, oh, it's a police box, but you haven't seen one of these around in like 50 years. I don't know what's here. But then the end of the episode, the TARDIS disappears and the neighbor is like, what the hell? And then Mrs. Flood looks into the camera and to us says like, oh, acts like he's never seen a TARDIS before. And then she winks.
So the reason that I thought it might be Susan is because the only other time that anyone has broken the fourth wall in Doctor Who, it was William Hartnell in A Feast for Stephen. And so I thought maybe that was a connection or something. And because they're going to be going to the 60s, I think right around when they leave her in London. So I don't know.
I didn't make the Susan connection, but I was just like, I wonder if this is just a one-off like 60th anniversary gag in like a wink to the time that the Doctor wished everyone a Merry Christmas.
Right. That's true. That is true. Yeah, maybe she's not anybody either. I'm imagining the world where all of these mysteries are nothing, and how angry the Phantom is going to be.
Yes,
because they've built them all up so high. I'm just trying to temper my own expectations.
And then just like, the Mrs. Flood is such a specific name. And then the, Amy Pond River Song, I see the logic.
True.
Oh,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that would be interesting if she was like, I don't know. I don't even want to say anything more. Cause I don't want to, yeah, she could be anybody. She could literally be anybody. I mean, they were saying that a character is going to come back from the Fourth Doctor era, that we haven't heard from, since then. And I was like, could that be like Romana? Like, are they bringing Romana back?
I would love that.
Yeah.
Unironically.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you don't know who Romana is yet, Nick, but you will.
Not yet. It was interesting. Over on the Discord, there was a lot of discussion about, the people seem to be kind of, I don't want to say lukewarm on Ruby, but like, she's nice.
Yeah.
I like, she hasn't really, and it made me, people have brought up, Bill and the pilot. And, last week, you guys asked me like who my favorite companions were. And I said, it's probably Susan and Ace because they're like little feral, like weirdos. And like, I forgot who pointed this out, but like, you know, Ruby and Clara and Amy and Rose, they all kind of fall into the same kind of like ingenue. Like, really, this is more about like the actor playing them than like the character. Because like, describe Amy Pond, you know, like, you know, Karen Gillan's cool. Like that's Amy Pond's character. And so I think that's why like whenever Ruby really popped for me, whenever she was with Judy Godwin's doctor, not so much when she was just like, I mean, she was fine when she was just by herself, but
yeah. I mean, look, she's not everybody can be Donna, you know?
Sure.
That's true.
Yeah. Donna's going to pop in any room she's in. Doesn't matter who she's surrounded by. And so was Wilt, her whole family.
Yeah.
Top family. But yeah, it's a solid first episode. You know, it reminds me a lot of Rose, but I think it's better than Rose. And yeah, I don't know what else I could possibly want, you know? It felt like Doctor Who again.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. Did you guys watch the Next Time trailer?
I did.
I forgot.
Oh.
I hate that it's not attached to the freaking God.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, streaming. I don't know.
Yeah,
they don't want to do it for some reason.
We get Abbey Road.
Yep.
And the Beatles.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the Jinx Monsoon episode.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because she has a keyboard cape.
Yeah. She's going to be the villain in that episode. That's also apparently the episode where the person from the Fourth Doctor episode shows up. That's what Russell T was teasing.
I don't know if this is speculation or confirmed, but I've heard some people refer to Jinx Monsoon's character as the music master.
Interesting.
As like maybe a companion to the toy, or the music maker as a companion to the toy maker.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah,
because we also have those threads from the 60s of like the one who waits and whoever picked up the master's tooth and the boss.
Right.
The mink was talking, the mink. The meep.
Right. The boss. Yeah. We got the reveal that Rose is returning. Rose Noble.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's going to be back.
Yeah.
She was given 15 a big old hug in unit headquarters. So definitely going to reuse that set, which is good because it looked expensive.
The funky robot will come back probably.
Oh yeah. The one that nobody liked and I felt indifferent about.
I liked it.
Yeah, I know.
What was there not to like?
Alien?
Yeah, people on Discord were like, dude, fuck that thing. And I was like, what? How could you have such a strong opinion about him?
It didn't do anything.
It did like two things.
Yeah. He's just there.
Oh man.
It's no K9, but
like, right. But what is?
Yeah, exactly.
Who introduced K9? What era was he introduced in?
Fourth Doctor.
Maybe he's no, but it's a character we haven't seen since the Fourth Doctor.
Yeah. And we got him in 10 and in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Okay, because he died in School Reunion.
Right.
But then he's in Sarah Jane Adventures.
They rebuilt him again in the Sarah Jane. I don't know. I didn't watch the Sarah. I shouldn't talk about Sarah Jane Adventures like I know what I'm talking about. I just seem to remember something about K9 being on that show, but maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. No. Yes, because he did die, but then he left her a new one at the end of the school reunion.
Yeah.
He had like a Mark III or Mark IV or whatever it was. Yeah. Affirmative.
You would say.
Yeah. But any other thoughts on does anybody have any other theories about Miss Flood or Ruby's parentage or anything like that?
I'm trying to think of
what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I'm trying to think of other bits of like Arthurian myth because you have Morgan Le Fay, you have like Arthur Pendragon, and like the idea of like being like a prophesized king and stuff like that. What are you going to say?
I just think it's going to be really funny if Mrs. Flood is not relevant at all, and then people are going to be big mad about it. That amuses me for some reason.
What is this? What is this Susan Twist thing that I see people talking about?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna. Do a quick...
So that's the actress's name, and I don't remember her being in the episode of because there was like because it says that she was like in Wild Blue Yonder, but I don't remember that happening unless it's the very end. But apparently she was also in this.
Oh,
Susan Twist. She is. Oh, apparently she was also in. Hold on. Oh, fuck you.
She played a character named Mrs. Meridew in Wild Blue Yonder.
I don't remember that at all.
No,
because it's just the ship.
Oh, she was the girl. She was the lady that was like talking to, what's his name? The gravity guy at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Sir Isaac Newton's.
Yeah,
like,
Isaac Newton. Yeah.
He's like, hello, Susan Twist, or whatever.
Yeah. So that's who Susan Twist is, and apparently she's in this too. This episode also.
Apparently.
Huh.
I'll have to go back. Oh, she's on Coronation Street. Okay. And the bill.
I don't know.
Yeah, she plays Mrs. Meridew in Wild Blue Yonder. Yeah, literally, like I think she has like the first line in that episode.
Yeah, and apparently she's in behind the scenes filming pictures across all of like season 1 and season 2 of the new show.
Crazy.
So like, yeah, I don't know.
Again, it's even funnier if it like doesn't mean anything.
Right?
Yeah, true.
He's just spending his money.
Yeah.
It's like, look at all this money I can spend on this show now.
I'm just sending this actor to episodes they're not even cast in.
Yeah. So, any other
spring 2024?
Right. Yeah. I guess. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the tee up, Nick. So yeah, we're coming back in May of 2024 with the new season. Before that, we are going to do another season of Long Way Around. I have timed it in the schedule to end the last week of April, so that we'll be ready to go for the new season when it starts, without having to like interrupt a season of Long Way Around. But yeah, so we're gonna do Long Way Around starting next month. Well, no, not next month. We will be back in February to start the new season 10 of Long Way Around. We've already started recording it, so it really is happening, everybody. So don't worry about that. But we'll be back in February to do that. But next month, I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you look at the number for this episode, it's episode 399, which means our next episode is episode 400. So in January, we'll be releasing a episode 400 special, in which we're going to do the RTD bracket. We're going to, much like we did with the Christmas specials a few years ago, I think that was episode 300. We're going to be doing this for episode 400, where we do a tournament style like elimination bracket for every episode written by Russell T Davies, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to talking about that. So that'll be our episode next month in January, and then we'll be back full force in February to take on the next season of Long Way Around. As a reminder, those episodes that we are covering, just so everybody can prepare. Let's see. So we're starting with Planet of the Giants, the premiere of season 2 of the show. That's our first Doctor story, followed by the second Doctor story, The Ice Warriors, the third Doctor story, Day of the Daleks, fourth Doctor story, The Brain of Morbius, the fifth Doctor story, Modern Undead. Then we have, for the sixth Doctor, because the final part of Trial of a Time Lord is only 2 parts, we're going to be covering all of it together. So we're going to be covering Terror of the Vervoids and The Ultimate Foe on this season of the show, all in one episode. Just going to wrap up Trial of a Time Lord and the Six Doctors TV appearances in total. So that means next season, a long way around, we're going to start our Big Finish audio adventures with the Sixth Doctor, which I'm very excited about. But so we have that. And then for the Seventh Doctor, an episode called Ghost Light. For the Eighth Doctor, we're going to be covering the Big Finish audio adventure, The Time of the Daleks, which is, I'm very excited for you guys to find out what the concept of this is. I don't know if I want to spoil it or if I just want you to find out, but I just know that you guys will be really hyped. So I might just, you know what, I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to put it this way. 2 words, Daleks and Shakespeare.
Oh, hell yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you anything else about it.
What's that neck frill thing that you would wear?
Yeah, it's a solid one. It's a solid one.
Oh, man.
So that's Time of the Daleks, and then we're gonna be kicking off New Who. We're gonna be wrapping up the Ninth Doctor with Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. He will then be retired. We're not going to be going to those Big Finish audios because I haven't heard the best things about them, and also canonically, I have questions in terms of the legitimacy of the canon of their of the Ninth Doctor stuff. So we will not be covering his Big Finish adventures on the show. We'll be wrapping him up and retiring him this season with Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, and then we will return to the 13th Doctor as the replacement for the Ninth Doctor next season on The Long Way Around. Following that, we have the season 2 finale, Army of Ghost and Doomsday for the 10th Doctor, and the series 5 finale, the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang for the 11th Doctor.
Wow.
This is a really, like, all things considered, like, this is a banger of a season of the show. I'm really excited. There's only 2 episodes in here that I wish I could switch out with what we're covering next season on The Long Way Around. And then this would be the unbeatable, like, season of Long Way Around. And that's not even saying that the episodes we're covering this season are not good of those particular Doctors. It's just that next season are like all-time bangers. So, yeah. But this is a really good run of episodes. So I'm really excited to cover all of these on Long Way Around. So yeah. So next month, January, sometime in January, we will drop our 400th episode, and then we'll be back with a new season of Long Way Around in February that will run us to the end of April, just in time for the new series to premiere in May. I'm gonna call it now, and I'm going to guess the new series premieres on May 11th. That is my guess. But and the reason for that is because they say May, but if they're still sticking with Saturdays, they're not going to do the first Saturday because that's May the 4th, and that's going to be, it's Disney, so that's going to be all Star Wars. So they're not going to premiere that day. And if they premiere on May 11th, that means that the 8 episodes of this series will end on June 30th. So it's just like a nice, even, they end it before 4th of July, before they have to be reminded of our independence, and and after May the 4th. So it's kind of like a perfect 8-week period where they could drop the show. So I that's my guess. But we'll see if I'm right when we get around to that. But yeah, it felt good to talk about a Christmas special again, guys.
Yeah.
It's always fun. I like how specifically he dated everything, where it was like December 23rd, 2023. And I'm like, that was 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's good. All right, everybody. We'll be back next month with our 400th episode.